He's disappointed I just shut his Zeppelin, shut his Zeppelin off. So it's the next day, probably again 24 hours later from when we were screwing around with it, and all the paint pieces were knocked out. So pretty much we're to the point where we can reassemble. The only thing we were having an issue with was getting pushrod tubes and one nut for a head bolt. We got that, and we also got pushrod tubes. She got them from my neighbor who retiring out of VWs. It's funny how close a lot of things are that you don't realize how many VWs are in our area, in our immediate area.
We live in a good neighborhood, Darren.
So we got those, and we got enough to put everything back together. So cleaned up the bench a little bit, kind of organized ourselves. Had a cup of coffee, and gonna start knocking it out and putting it back together. So let's get on it. So we're getting all into putting the thing all back together, and Ryan's cleaning up the intake and the shroud, and we're getting the heads out and looking at the heads, trying to get. I started prepping the heads, cleaning them up. I'm looking at the intake manifold and the intake port. These two are the new heads. This is one I think I was cleaning up, and I'm just looking at the diameter of their intake, diameter of the intake, and then those original ones. The one I got cracked open the gasket set, and I got two different sizes. There's that size, and there's that size. They're not the same size. Did you come to that same conclusion we came to? Anyway, so that sucks. We thought we had the right setup. It's more like that. And the problem with that is, again, the intake doesn't match it. It's a loss in power. It's a couple of different things. So our tail is now between our legs. And what do we do now? Well, the original cylinder heads are still decent. We're going to clean them up, kind of go over them and look, and see what we have, and see if they're good. And the whole thing that kind of started this whole project was the fact that this one was meatballed. And what I mean by meatballed is, let's set this thing up because this may be a bit of a long tail. Yeah. Hold on one second. Is this fiasco? Alright. Let me get a pointer. We'll start with this one. It's just drilled off center, and then tried again. They drilled it off center again. So that one, it's got a broken off stud, and it's just drilled off to one side. Now this one, on the other hand, it's drilled. Looks like off center, and then also. Okay, there you go. Right down the center of it. Looks like a broken tap or broken drill bit. I'm kind of going with a tap. So that's the big issue, is that it's got that hardened piece of steel jammed inside there that is not going to want to come out of there very easy. So that's where we are, is dealing with trying to fix that repair again. So now we're contemplating if I want to take it and try to put it in the Bridgeport and see if we can kind of do something with it, and what we got to do to get that piece out of there. The problem is the piece that's in there is so hard and brittle you can't drill it. That's for those who wonder what the dilemma is. So how do you get that thing out of there? So I may try taking a chisel to it, see if I can shatter some of it away. But I'm gonna go think about that, and you'll see where we go in a minute. You guys will not believe how well you guys as a camera can hide when I set you down. Alright, so we come up with a plan. Here's what our plan is. We're going to do our best to go fix this one. We're going to try maybe chuck it up in the Bridgeport or the drill press and see if we can just repair that one. This one, we're going to go play with it a little bit. Don't give it too much time and effort. And I think we're going to work with the hole that is already here, maybe improve upon that, and put a smaller stud right there. The heater box has already got a hole drilled in it where that happened. So if I can catch this one, and I think if I can catch that one, it will suffice as holding itself together, or at least we can try. So that's where we're going to start. Let's see how it goes. I got it chucked up in the mill, and I already came down with a bit that's just under what it should be. but it's the largest one I can get in there, so that it doesn't want to walk out of the location flex much, and less at the snap too. So I think we're all set to go. The head is chucked in here about as well as you guys are hanging on the stand, and I got the bit as far up as I can too, so that to minimize the flexing. Let's see what we get. You know what's going on, right? I'm going in. I was tapping it with a chisel. I got it to turn. Got the whole thing. I would say that is good. We might get 2 for 2 on this one. We're going for number 2. Here, let's mix it out. We want to go here. Getting really hard to work now. I think I might just stop right there. How much do I got? Let's see, by the marker, I'm down about a ½ inch. That should be enough to work with. Let me see if we can get a tap in there. So I think I grabbed the tap, and actually, before I turned the camera on, I took a chisel punch. I tried to break away some of the metal that was there, and I did. I got about a ring or 2 off the top of it. So now I'm just trying to walk a tap in it and have it try to break away what's in the threads. I'm breaking my own tap in there, causing my own issues. Get some. Doing that. And yes, I'm going in dry. Going in dry. is as you break the material off, it falls into the center. But if you keep going, you get too much material up in there, and then it just kind of will roll back on itself, clog up. You kind of have to take bites at it, not all at once, you know. There's my lovely Chinese tap handle. So you get the idea. We're going to keep working on that. I'm going to go change out this tap handle to one that's a little better. And after tapping the other one, it looks pretty good. Again, what's left over is just aluminum. Focus. So the only thing that's left is the casing of what it's made out of. The steel's removed, and the only thing you're left with is aluminum. But the aluminum is so soft it always kind of wants, when you're drilling it, always wants to go off to one side of it. So to try to maintain the center of it and bore that out of there, it's kind of hard to do with a hand drill. So I think we got it. We can put a couple of studs in there. I'll Loctite them in there, and this head should be good to be reused over. And again, it didn't have any issues other than that. So the unrebuilt rebuild, I guess. I got all of them cleared out. I went hunting through my hoard of hardware, VW hardware. I was trying to find some studs for it. I found these. They're a little on the short side, so we're gonna go with them. Is there a Loctite you're not supposed to use on aluminum? I think there is. Hopefully it's not red. Anyway. They should stay put. Good enough to put an exhaust fan in there. How far do I push that one, huh? I'm gonna go with that. That should work out pretty good. Sure beats two self-tapping screws. So these are the original heads. I'm kind of looking them over. And it kind of concerns me a little bit is this area right here. You can tell it had some blow-by. And I have a feeling this head stud right here, which is this one is seized on the end of it. You can't get that nut off. It'll spin on there. It's stripped like in the middle of it. So I believe this one was having a problem and causing that issue right there. Hopefully that cylinder head is still good. I think what I'm going to do though is swap them from side to side. You got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 are on this side. 3 and 4 on this side. 3 and 4 generally get more abuse to it because the fan is in the middle here, blowing air down over the cylinders, and inside the fan shroud is an oil cooler. It blows air through the oil cooler and then down, so it restricts a lot of the airflow to this side. So this side of the engine always runs hotter than the other side. And in later ones they actually take it and they take this and they kick it out of the doghouse and make it so the flow goes across the heads better. But I think we're going to go swap them from side to side, and we'll get a better fighting chance of them sealing in different spots. That's a guess on my part, but that's what I'm going with. So that's the cylinder head going from 1 and 2, going on side 3 and 4. Cleaned up best as possible. And I think we're just going to go for broke, see what happens. They may seal up fine, they may have an issue because they've been kind of keyed a little bit from the other side, you know, banging around loose. So we're hoping that maybe fill in some of the deficiencies, so where it's blown away on a cylinder on one and a head on the other, it doesn't line up back to the same places anymore. But again, we know they're beat up, but we're going with what we got. And that's the check. So I'm gonna go squeeze them back together, I guess. I'm gonna set it up. Kill it. Yeah. Make sure those seams are up. I can get all the hardware on there, just sucking it down. My torque wrench kind of starts at 10. You're supposed to bring them up to about 7. This torque wrench, I got it set to about 15 right now, and I'm just kind of running it out, not even bringing it up against the click yet. But I'm just trying to draw the head down. And then I'll start pulling. I think we're about ready for a crown now. And we are going for and now I'm going to reset. I think I want to be at 22. So the heads are torqued down, the rocker shafts are on, and I spun the motor around once or twice to kind of settle everything. I'm going to come back and readjust the valves. The heads were done to 22. Rotor is pointing at number 1. See? Up here. It's pointing at number 1 on the distributor. And that's what I'm using to be my guide. So I'm going to do number 1 first. Kick it 90 degrees, do number 2, 3, 4. Got one of those one time. This motor, because the head's been swapping side to side, everything's going to be way out of whack. So take a jump on the game there. It's not like one's going to be close, you know. Well, that one is closed. Okay. You guys get the idea. Stop watching. So we're on with the tins. Yeah, that's the original one. Of course, the corners are blown out on it. It's blown out on that side. But it fits well. And we don't have much other to go on. We had these, and thought they might be close with it earlier. So I'm going to go and slice that right off there and that right off there and scab them right over those two locations. Probably cut it back to like right here. So let's go right over the top. I'm just going to put a couple stitches on it, give it black paint and color good. This will just be a little secret. I won't tell anybody. So it's the next day, and I kind of thought about what I wanted to do with this. The best bet would be to put a starter on the back of it and run it, do a compression test, and see how everything is. But the problem is the middle of winter, there's 2.5 feet of snow outside, and I have a bell housing that can go on there, but it's buried in the trunk of a parts car under 2.5 feet of snow, and then there's a tree branch on down on top of that, and etc., etc. So that it's a big pain in the ass to try to dig that out. So the next best thing we can do is going to do a leak down test. And a leak down test is you push air, compressed air into a cylinder, and with its valves closed, and you look to see what you have for air escaping. If no air is escaping of any great volume, then you know you pretty much have a sealed combustion chamber. So the hose is already stuck in number 1 cylinder right there, and there's a pair of vice grips locking the flywheel to where it can't rotate. It won't rotate much. And let's go set up and see what we get. So this will be the first one of 4. That flywheel should jump just a little bit. Intake. Just a little crap around the seal, I think. Fixed now. Let's go set up for the next cylinder. A little around that exhaust valve. Not terrible though. Nothing around the cylinder, and that's the most important part. Now I'm going to go over to the other side, see how that side does. This is number 3. This is the one that I would suspect is going to have a problem. Would probably have it. Seems okay. And number 4. Come on, number 4. So this one goes. I didn't have to hit that one. That one's leaking a little on the... That's what we're worried about. You hear that change in the hiss? It means it's leaking between these two. So, possibly going to try taking that head. I'm going to take the tension back off of it and try reseating it one more time. And if that doesn't work, I got another idea. So we have another set of pistons and cylinders, used ones. And what I want to try and do is, I'm not sure if it's the cylinder head or the jug that's got an issue where it's just kind of burned away on the edge a little bit. I have been feeling it's probably the head because it's aluminum where this is steel, but it does happen to both of them. So I'm going to take that cylinder head back off, and we're going to go take this, put some lapping compound on this cylinder. We're going to try working that surface flat going around and reseal it and see if it'll take. So that cylinder head is back off again, and we want to try to work with this surface right here. Figure it's not completely flat going all the way around. Now, how we're going to go about trying to cure that is, I have another cylinder head, and we're going to just use that lip to help seat that. And this is valve lapping compound, and hopefully it's not frozen in the tube. Let's go find out what we get here. I'll have to do a little rotor-rootering to help us out. That one might be pooched. Yep, we're in. Let's see if we can get any goo coming out of it. We got goo. Doesn't take that much. It's more than enough. Try to goober that into a couple of spots. Let's take that. Kind of mix it around a little bit. See if we get a good coverage. Push some boogers back in the track, but that looks pretty good. Use some right there. And we just try to pretend like we're making a fire. So I'm going to work at that for a little bit and kind of lap that sucker in there. Probably going to do the other cylinder too while we have it off, just for shits and giggles. But that should do it. We'll see if it seals up for us. So we got that back together. And kind of looking at it, I don't hear much of an issue. Kind of going around it. Giving it some squirt. There it is. Yeah. Still leaking right there. Definitely see the bubbles around that one. So I took the actual cylinder off of that, and so this is the actual cylinder and piston that are going to be used together, or cylinder and cylinder head that are going to be used together. And I figure we'll go take those guys and we'll try lapping them together. I wish I had the tooling from my mill to be able to go in there and just kind of cut new seats into there. But I don't. A lot of cylinder heads are flat on the surface. It doesn't have the recess like that, so what you can do is you could just do a fly cut right on the top of it and get everything flat again. These are recessed, so you would have to have something that kind of drops down and cuts inside there. Get the idea? I'm going to do that for about 15 minutes. I'm going to have Brian do that for 15 minutes. So he's been whittling away on that. Just got done cleaning it up. Here what we're going to do is maybe we'll take a black Sharpie and see if we can see. It's a lot better if I do this. Have it wet all at the same time. Kind of use it for like a tooling deal. Let's see if right where we're having an issue is right where it's still not dark. So it's definitely on the cylinder head, which I kind of expected. We're just not touching right there. Even if I try leaning it that direction, it doesn't work. So that's not going to work for us. So our only option is to keep working that so we can try to get it flat. And I end up going up with a mix of the valve lapping compound, and then I actually took some regular paint buffing compound, just because this is wetter, and I think this stuff is kind of like pushing out and just hardening up and drying up. So that sounds like it's actually doing something. So we're going to keep working that and see if we can get it to come back. So he worked that for about another 15 minutes or so. Let's give her another try, see if we're doing anything. Bring it home with him. When he's watching TV, you can hey, I like that. And we made a pattern all the way around. That's a good sign. Alright, let's go try putting it back together one more time, see if it'll work. And maybe third time's the charm. Let's see what we get. Oh, the intake. Sounds better. A little bit, a little bubble, but I would say that is much better than what it was. And so what's going to happen now when it runs, all that stuff is going to kind of hammer itself a little bit, and then you got to come back and retorque the cylinder heads one more time, and it kind of settles it back in. But I think we're within the realm where we should be good enough. Well, good enough for what we had to work with anyway. So judging by that noise in the background, you can tell we went and bounced back to the other cylinder head just for shits and giggles. Had to do it all over again. I would probably just disassemble the whole thing, take the jugs off, pistons off, clean everything up, and reassemble it. Knock it into the bottom end. But hindsight, as you know. So took this one back off. I cleaned up the last piston that wasn't off and cleaned up the landing below it, and we are back to lapping all of them in. We had to pop the cylinder off too, because the other cylinder that we had this area right here is not as wide. So if you're using this jug to go polish that cylinder head, although it fits in the hole, you're not getting the very inner lip. So we had to go pull the cylinders off of the block, which is fine. Nice to use both of them, kind of lap them together, because when you're doing that also, think of the surface of the cylinder. It's getting little fine lines grooved this way. When you have blow by, it's kind of making the path go this way. So you're kind of resetting, all on top of making it flat, you're also kind of like introducing a ringed groove, very fine ringed groove going this way on both surfaces. So it kind of helps it seal that much better. Just taking the material and feeding it back up so that sound comes back. Sanding. Almost. Get close. Just been finishing putting the tins on. We Leakdown tested each cylinder all over again, and we feel we're pretty good. Better late than never. A couple little other bits. Get the belt on it. Just putting the carb on now. Good to go. We have a little bit of a shopping list. A couple things we need. We're missing one of the retainers for the wires there and there. 2 spots. Some tin. We're missing the little pieces of tin that drop down below here. Get those. Get them on later. It's going back together better than we did before. We don't have self-tapping screws holding the heater boxes on anymore. Patch tin. Snap. No. That's it. Getting ready to go back to Brian's house. And I get stuff back in the car. Ran some copper fuel line because it's what we had, and made a copper vacuum line to the distributor. You got to have a little hump in there so gas does not come down in there, take out the diaphragm. And we got rid of the fuel line in between the carburetor and the fuel pump, and we're going to relocate that under the car. A lot of people have been switching over to it, and I'm kind of going to do the same thing. I'm starting with the cars as we're relocating the fuel. In the old days, they used to use this stuff, which is kind of like those Chinese handcuffs. The more you go to pull on it, the tighter it actually gets instead of looser. And that used to be the staple of the fuel line, but since fuel went to the alcohol in it, that type of material has been getting really eaten away and having a big issue. It's just not safe for the fuels. So it's been really taking out the stock line. And there's not much pressure in here. There's only about 2.5 pounds, something like that, fuel pump pressure. And that pressure was never going to be an issue of it coming apart. But now the fuel line starts deteriorating, and then this material backs off and actually releases from the fuel filter, and it comes apart, and fuel goes everywhere, even with or without hose clamps. So everybody's changing the location. So are we. Got a copper line running out the back side here. It's going to have fuel line added on, fuel filter in the best location where it's going to be able to get changed and seen, and then it goes down to the tunnel and picks up from there. That's it. It's just got to go to his house and shove back in the car, put oil in it. Yeah, it should be good to go.